Welcome. I have this oak burl here. Going to put it on the lathe and see what we can do with it. We had to just chop off the end here to make sure it fits on the bed of the lathe. Filled a large hole here with some sawdust and CA, created the mortise, and we're just going to finish shaping up, ready for a bit of polishing, sanding, sealing and polishing. So next stage. It's looking good. We've got a bit of a hole here which some of the material's broken away from. I'll have to build it up in layers, I think. Material that I put in the hole here didn't take, was too deep and too rotten underneath, so I've actually decided on something completely different now, and I'll show you a few pictures before we carry on with the video of what I've done so far and what I plan to do. A completely new concept out of the material that we've got here, so hopefully it should look really nice. So you can see here the two large cavities, this one particularly rotten, and what I decided to do was take an old table leg, white oak, and then machine some plugs to insert into the cavities, and that worked out quite well. As you can see here. Welcome back. It's been a couple of days now and I've got some time to carry on with this project. As you can see, both the big holes that we had here are plugged. This one I've left slightly proud because I want that to remain at the same level as the surface of the finished bowl. This one is slightly recessed, and I'll explain later the purpose of these, but they are going to be part of the sort of features that we're going to create with this. I've glued them in using this 2-pack resin, and next stage now is to, as I say, turn that down, get it nice and smooth, and then start doing something with the remaining gaps there, filling those up, and maybe some colour, we'll see. I've never done that before, and it's going to be a bit of a challenge for me, but I'm willing to have a go. Okay, so what we've got here is a mixture of iridescent bronze and the 2-part epoxy resin, and I'm going to start filling in the gaps. I've put a little tiny bit of sawdust in there as well, just to bulk it out, and we'll see how this works out. Right, well, this stuff stays workable for about 5 minutes. It's gone off now. But I'm going to leave this, because it's quite thick here, I'm going to leave this to set for an hour or so until it's really firm, and then I'll build another layer on it and then fill in these other little gaps around here, and we'll come back to it. Right, so we've sanded down to the sort of finish that I want for this, and now I'm going to put the colour on using a little bit of sponge. I've done a quick test on a piece of wood and it looks rather nice, sort of reflective sheen there, so fingers crossed this goes well. Right, I might have to do another layer on there, but that's the sort of effect I'm looking for, so let's see. There we are. So I think that just feathers in nicely. And we'll do the other side now. Right, we're going to put the silver on now. We're working on the premise that less is more. I think I'll stop there. I've got the effect that I wanted to achieve, and we'll let that thoroughly dry and then start putting the final coats of sealant on it. Right, this has had one coat of Danish oil, which has gone off overnight, so now I'm going to apply the cellulose sanding sealer. So we'll get on with that. Right, so now we're ready to apply the Yorkshire grit, and prior to polishing, and we'll be using Hampshire sheen for that. So still treating these coloured areas with a fair degree of caution. Don't want to take off the paint, but I think it's going to be safe, but caution's the word. To change the camera angle because there's so much vibration. This piece is never going to be in balance because of the shape which we've striven to maintain. So I've altered the camera angle, and hopefully now you'll get a shake-free picture. For the same reason, I've got to keep the revs low. That's coming up nicely. So I think a couple more coats. And right, we'll spin this up and give it a polish. Well, I think you'll agree that's definitely made an improvement. And we'll leave that to thoroughly dry and then move on to the next stage. Right, we're back on the other side of the piece now. It's been flipped, and going to start the process of boring out. Right, we're going to open that up now with a 25mm Forstner bit. And we're done. Okay, so as you can see now, we've halfway hollowed out the bowl, just over halfway, and we're starting to expose the other side of the plugs that I put in there. What my aim is to do is to, if there's enough meat there, is to get this down to the appropriate level so we can just chamfer those off nicely without risking tearing away or meeting the outside. I think we'll be safe there, so we'll crack on and see what happens. Well, hopefully I'm going to get away with that depth there. I'm wary that we're approaching the limits of this piece that's in here, but I've got about 10mm to clear, so I'm just being very cautious. I'm quite prepared to fill in with more epoxy resin and some sawdust in the gaps there, but I want to try and clean this up as much as possible so I get a nice shape of the insert as well. I think I've gone about as far as I dare with the depth on here, and allowing the integrity of the wood to remain. Otherwise I'm going to go too deep and I'll get into the rot that was giving problems on the outside. So I'm now going to sand this right down to a fine grade, and I will put some compound in there just to fill the gaps, and then just take that out, rough that out, and then we'll finish it off. There really are some rather wonderful shapes and colours in there, and I'm loath to cover them up, but I think because I haven't been able to finish off this in the way that I really wanted to, I'm going to use the same method on the inside as the outside, and use the paint just to pretty them up a bit. So here's the finished piece, and it's worked out okay. It had been a hard task. I knew it was never going to be easy, never in balance, and it's not perfect, but I think I've made the best of a job there, and I hope my grandson will be very pleased when I give it to him for his birthday. So got a couple of others of the same ilk for my sister-in-law to have a go at, so watch this space.